All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. We have a big slate today, really the last pretty huge one before the All-Star break, so that'll be fun. But with that being said, and I'm bringing this up because I just saw Dante DiVincenzo was out, and I had him in a lot of my best balls. So I'm actually curious, how did your best balls go thus far for DraftKings? I don't know if you even did DraftKings best ball. I know you did Underdog.
I did one total
just
ball
one
draft on DraftKings, 64 on Underdog. I think I advanced like 17.
That's pretty good.
18, so it was above average. I had one finish in the top 1,000. Underdog did the regular season payouts this year.
Yeah.
And it's looking like, unless I get lucky, making it to the because you get no money for advancing. It's the only payouts were for min cashing in the top 12,000 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And then if you make the finals, I think the min cash in the finals like $100. So I'm looking pretty bad to profit, but we'll see. Maybe I get lucky.
It's weird. Like there's so many random injuries going on right now, especially today, which today kind of feels like a low-key kind of significant day for that, but also like DFS purposes. It's going to be tough to really break down the news. We can start maybe somewhat game by game, just kind of highlighting it that way, because there's a lot of people out. Like the first game that I think is worth mentioning, and we can pull up the injury report. It is massive, okay? Let's just start with the first game, which is Orlando versus New York. I think it's just logical that way. We'll start with New York here. So New York, they're going to be without OG, Bogdanovich, DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, Randall, Mitchell Robinson. So that means a lot of Precious, a lot of Sims, maybe. Hart, Burks, and then Jalen Brunson should be in for a good play. On the other side, then we'll touch on that in a second here. Orlando's going to be without three of their guards, Markelle Fultz, Gary Harris, and Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, the injury report today is a disaster. Huge slate. We already have a lot of stuff going on, but I mean, New York, Jalen Brunson, Alec Burks. If Alec Burks starts, it's going to be probably one of my highest owned plays today.
And that's why they traded for him, right? That's just for this spot.
So I'm pretty sure they gave up 2 seconds to get rid of him last time. Then they gave up another 2 seconds and Quentin Grimes to trade back for him. So hopefully it works out for him.
Yeah, he's a good ball player. I don't like he can score. He fits New York's team pretty well. But are you getting to any Precious? Because no one's getting to him right now, and he's projected to get 40 minutes, and I think the 40 minutes is pretty accurate.
Precious, yeah, 40. Dude, these minutes projections for the Knicks lately have been insane. But like the three guys, the main three, Jalen Brunson, DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart, I'm pretty sure they lead the league in minutes this year. In 2024, but with Precious, I might try and mix in a few percent. Not too excited about him at his price. Like I know he's been doing pretty well, but it's a huge slate, so it's not necessarily I don't like Precious. I like other guys more.
So speaking of huge slate, we'll jump into Orlando. So I mentioned those three guards are out, and to me, and the field is agreeing here, Cole Anthony, who was kind of a value play on the last slate, potential play. He just seems like the easy go-to play, assuming that Orlando doesn't do any weird stuff. Now, the expectation is that he probably still comes off the bench, but is he someone you're just loading up on?
I don't know about loading up on. I'm going to have a bunch of him. Yeah, I mean, I'm above the field right now. Actually, I'm with the field right now at 35%. One of my higher exposed players. Played him yesterday. I mean, 3,500. I think it was worth taking a GPP shot. But today, I mean, there's just no reason this dude should play less than... We haven't projected for 26. Like, he should play 26 almost every time, right? If not a few more.
Yeah, I mean, in the spots, like, it wouldn't be shocking to see him get to 30 as well. But, like, we should be... And I don't like using the locker, but we should be locking in 26 minutes like we haven't projected to get... Or 25, let's just say. And, like, if that happens, he should easily hit value.
I hope so. I'm like trying to look at the team to see if there's any other pivots or anything we can go to. I mean, Franz Wagner's pulling pretty low ownership, so 10%. He had a bad game. I think he had a couple bad games in a row, but he's been kind of on a tear. So kind of interested in Franz. And then Paolo's Paolo, so he's fine. But like Anthony Black, and then they're projecting Caleb Houston, or maybe they said Caleb Houston was starting. I know it's been priced, but his usage rate is both their usage rates are just so low. I don't think we have to even like if you're going to play Cole Anthony, play Cole Anthony. If not, you can probably just avoid it.
For me, I think the play is actually Joe Ingles. Like if you wanted to take a little bit of stabs at him, but again, it's such a big slate, we probably don't need to go there. But I'm a little bit shocked that he's pulling 0% ownership at near min price.
I'll say that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's like last time I think we were in a similar spot. Joe Ingles was like 30% for no reason, and now no one wants to play him. I know we have all the games, but I don't mind taking a couple percent of that.
All right, and then we move on into the next game that's early as well. We got Miami versus Philly. So Miami is going to be without Butler, Richardson, and Terry Rozier. Everyone loaded up on Tyler Hero, including myself. Kind of a disappointment, kind of not, but the also other easy play when he was deemed active was Duncan Robinson. He ended up going off. Bam had a great game. Jaquez did not have that good of a game, but not terrible. Who are you looking at for Miami here with that injury news, or are you not looking at anyone?
Well, yesterday, if you had Duncan Robinson, Jovic, and Kevin Love in a lineup without Tyler Hero, you're probably looking pretty good.
Did you see our sample build yesterday?
I did not. No, I missed it.
It was pretty darn good. I'm actually curious in the comments, did anyone play a good portion of that lineup yesterday? Because it did pretty darn well. I was surprised. Like, we ended up on some plays that were just correct. It was kind of more of a GPP build, and it worked out just because we were on, some of the Heat players.
Yeah, I mean, I set a rule yesterday, max 3 Heat, which I don't think it's a mistake,
that's good.
4 Heat would have worked out if one of them wasn't Tyler Hero. But the thing is, Tyler Hero was still in the winning lineup yesterday. So he underperformed relative to his salary, but he was in such a high percentage of the field's lineups, and he didn't bomb. I mean, I think he put up 31 on DraftKings at 6,900. If you had the rest of the pieces right, like, you still could have taken down a GPP yesterday with him. And so with Tyler Hero today, his price went up a little bit, and now he's coming in at 10%. Like, he is the exact same play as he was yesterday. He's just $300 more. And so at 10% ownership, I want to be over on Hero, getting a bunch of Robinson, getting all the Jovic. I mean, his minutes are kind of volatile. I think that's why his ownership came in as low as it did yesterday. But, 3,100 with the chance to do what he did yesterday, I'm just going to load up on him again. And then Jaime, Caleb Martin, those are kind of just deep GPP shots. But Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson, Jovic, and Bam and Harrow, so 5 guys from the Heat, I think are all pretty in play.
I will say I don't mind the idea of maybe somewhat going the opposite today with, like, for instance, Kevin Love was someone that, we were pretty high on. We got Brand Smalls here saying that he had a good day yesterday using those picks, which is awesome. Love to see that. But yeah, like, Kevin Love was a play I was pretty gung-ho about yesterday. I don't know if I need to be on him. I could maybe go to someone more like Caleb Martin or maybe Jaquez. Like, the players that disappointed yesterday, I could see just potentially flipping because they are not getting any ownership, even though I wouldn't say they were exactly wrong. It's just it was a blowout. Now it's the second leg of a back-to-back. Like, who's to say Jaquez doesn't get a little bit more run tonight, or Caleb Martin, given the fact that it is the back end of back-to-back. And I'm surprised Kevin Love's active for that matter. So, like, he's someone that maybe sits on the back end of back-to-back.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, it's just tough. Like, it's not often where 2 cheap centers work out. Yesterday, Jovic and Kevin Love. We got 75 from Jason Tatum, like 100 from Demantis, and 65 from Fox. So, I mean, that could happen tonight. Stars could go off, and you just hit, like, yesterday, the chalk went off. So it was kind of awkward. But we'll see. I think you just mix these guys up. I'm probably going to do max 3 of the Heat again. And then I'm not going to put any restrictions on which combinations of guys, though.
Yeah, like we said, it's a massive slate. Talking about a bunch of injuries still in that game, and we'll go a little bit quicker here in a second. But these first games are just loaded with significant injuries. So Philly, obviously, they're really banged up still. They're going to be without Batum, Covington, which I do think is pretty big for KJ Martin, and also Kelly Oubre still getting run. But Embiid's out, Harris is out, Lowry's out, and Melton is out. So, like, really all the plays that we would probably want to be on as pivots from someone being out are not there. So, like, what are we doing here? Is Maxey a great play? Is Paul Reed a great GPP play? What are you trying to do here?
Well, I'm loading up on Buddy Hield. That's my top play from Philly, one of my top plays on the entire slate. Sorry.
You're good.
And then Kelly Oubre, pretty interesting GPP play. Tyrese Maxey. I mean, there's a lot of other pay-ups today, so I'm not too interested in him, but he is a GPP play. And Paul Reed, his minutes have just been so weird that it's really hard for me to want to play him and just over anyone else. Like, even that game 2 games ago, he had a really good first half, 10 and 10. Yes. I think he finished with like 12 and 13 or something. And so there's no security in him playing in the game, I guess.
I had him prop wise, and I'm like, oh, this one's saying easily, and then it's just like, oh boy, it became much more of a sweat than it should have been. So
right,
yeah. Let's see here. So other spots here, Atlanta, they're kind of banged up, but I guess it's worthwhile we'll bring up Atlanta as well, and then we can kind of skim through some of the other stuff. But Atlanta, Anika's out, Killian Capella's out. So we did get a question earlier about, hey, is Bruno a play, or kind of what are our thoughts on Bruno? What are our thoughts on Bruno? Are we playing him? He's too cheap. He's chalk.
He's top of value on both sites.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just got to play him. And especially on FanDuel, he has the power forward eligibility, which is
Yeah.
great. Because if he was center only, it'd be a tough call. But it's like, who do they have to play the center spot besides Bruno Fernando? I imagine they probably
Johnson?
slide, Jalen Johnson down to center for a few minutes. Jalen Johnson, by the way, I've never seen this kind of OF index from a player like this before.
Right.
And we've said that a few times this year about Jalen Johnson. And so his ownership coming in super low. I think you can play him and Fernando together. And then as for the rest of the team, I mean, Sadiq Bey has been doing pretty well. Trey Young, great GBP play. But Bruno Fernando and Jalen Johnson are the two spots from this team.
I'm right there with you. And then just talking about some other spots that we have injury-wise, it becomes much later. I mean, Memphis, typical stuff that we've seen. Houston, kind of typical stuff that we've seen. I guess the next biggest one to me on paper would actually be Washington with Kyle Kuzma out, and especially after some of the trades that they have made. He had been someone that was playing a little bit of the five with Bagley active. I think Bagley's going to be one of my favorite plays, and he's not pulling in any ownership because, well, he should get 30-plus minutes, even though he's not projected to get that. Are you getting to anyone from Washington?
Oh, I'm loading up on Bagley. Last time, I think I went into the slate with like 60% Bagley, and then I swapped off like half of it to get to Daniel Gafford, and those two just went off. Like their ownerships completely blew my mind. Bagley came in at 3%, and he's showing 3% again today. There were it was like something about maybe the minutes weren't secure, but they seem pretty secure to me. So I'm going to load up on Bagley, and then just since I mentioned him, Daniel Gafford. Coming in at 0% at 6,100, I have to assume he starts again against Wemby. He only played 24 minutes and he did not close, but he put up a monster in those 24 minutes. So I'm going right back to him too.
I was right there with you. A little bit of revenge game narrative. I kind of like that. That was a good spot for Gafford, but that was the conundrum. That's late for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Other spots. The last one, I believe it's on the main slate, right? The Lakers are on the main slate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about the Lakers. LeBron is out tonight, and so all the other players are also out as well that have been Reddish, Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent. So we got not too much ownership. Like Hachimura's a little bit pulling some ownership. Anthony Davis not pulling as much as I would have thought. I'm assuming that's just due to the Q tag. But what are your thoughts on the Lakers here? As you're wearing a Lakers hat, right?
Oh, yeah. Loading up on D'Angelo Russell. His industry-wide projection is not high enough today. I think it's incorrect. And his ownership is too low. It's like if we knew LeBron was going to be out when they were making the pricing, wouldn't he be 8K? And so under 20%, even though it's a huge slate, loading up on D'Lo, loading up on AD. Spencer Dinwiddie's interesting. He had a pretty bad game yesterday in his Lakers debut. I think he still put up an okay fantasy score, but watching him play, it's like he dribbled up one time and pulled up from like 10 feet behind the three-point line off a runner. Like, what are you doing, dude? But at 2%, I don't hate it. He probably has to play a little bit. And Austin Reeves.
He didn't do terrible. Just sorry to cut you off. Like he still put up like 22 fantasy points, which not great, but like not terrible. Like if he does a little bit better.
4 turnovers, 2 field goals made. It's not good enough.
Well, no, like if he doesn't, like if he does 2 turnovers and maybe makes 2 more buckets, like he's right there for like 30 fantasy points. And I'm not saying we need to go there, but with LeBron out, I could be talked into it.
Well, he's chalky over on FanDuel at 15%. Yeah. We do have him predicted for 30 minutes. If he plays 30 minutes, then at 2% on DraftKings, I think he's fine to get a few shares of.
Yeah, but Austin Reeves, I want to get your thoughts on that because he's someone that I want to load up on as well. With LeBron out with his projected minutes, he seems like an easy play on DraftKings, as Russell is as well, but maybe not so much on FanDuel where he is a little bit priced out.
Yeah, this has happened a few times this season where LeBron's out and I load up on one of D'Lo or Reeves, and more than half the time I'm wrong. But tonight I'm loading up on D'Lo. I'm still gonna have some Reeves mixed in, but just gonna hope it works out and D'Lo just takes over. I mean, they're both really good plays.
Yeah. Let's see here. We don't really have any questions, but we'll get into some comments here as well. So we got Power saying Brown is out. Is that Jaylen Brown, I'm assuming?
Yeah, Jaylen Brown just got ruled out.
Oh, man, that's a typical Boston thing to do. So we'll touch on Boston, I guess, real quick as well. So Al Horford's out as well. Jaylen Brown's out, and then Tillman's still out. So we've kind of seen this a bunch already this season, but Drew Holiday feels a little bit too cheap. Derek White feels a little bit too cheap. I'm saying all the same stuff again as I did yesterday. But Tatum went off to Emma's comment as well. He did go off last night. Are you looking at anyone here specifically with that news?
Yeah, Drew Holiday had a really good game last night too. It's like I don't want to play Tatum that much. I'd rather just mix up the other studs, but he's not pulling that much ownership. Kristaps pulling no one on his team is pulling ownership. So if you mix in, it's just awkward because Drew Holiday and Derek White are the same price, and the model has them basically exactly the same. So you're flipping a coin if you're playing one. But I think they're both great to mix in.
I mean, I know the minutes aren't correct here, but they probably will get 37 minutes, right? The data just kind of refreshed, so it's probably going to be closer to 37 for them both if the game stays close, but that's the biggest issue. Maybe it doesn't, but I would imagine that line comes down a little bit. I mean, Ben Simmons being out doesn't change that much for Brooklyn, does it?
It shouldn't, no. I mean, and I loaded up on Dennis Schroeder yesterday. He's projected to start tonight for Brooklyn. If he starts, had a terrible game yesterday, but he almost closed, played big minutes. He actually might have been on the court at the last second too. But 4,900 on DraftKings at 1%, Dennis Schroeder. I'm probably going to lose money on him again tonight.
So that's the theme, though, today. We have a lot of low-owned plays that probably shouldn't be low-owned. So very interesting slate in that regard. Let's see here. This is kind of brutal. From Andy, talking about his lineup. Yeah, Fontecchio was the one really bad one out of that build, but didn't cash at 288, 289 basically. That's a little rough there. It was a high-scoring night. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much it. We got a question about Denny. I always butcher his last name, but for Washington, he could be in play for sure with Kyle Kuzma out.
Yeah, the thing about Denny is he is a rebounding machine. Last game with Bagley, I think he had 7 rebounds, but the prior ones, he had like 13 rebounds or something. And so, I mean, they started Kuzma at center a couple games ago. We know that they're okay going small. I mean, they have Rashawn Holmes now, and he played a few minutes yesterday. But, Denny and Bagley, and Tyus Jones, too. Interested in all these guys from Washington.
Yeah, with Washington, for me, it's always like they're going to be low-owned, and if they're low-owned, and the game stays close, that's kind of the bet. Typically, it's like Tyus Jones is typically good. Gafford, he's out, but he's not there anymore. But like that was kind of the theme, and maybe we just switch that to Bagley a little bit as well, and Denny as well, to that matter.
And it's a 13.5-point spread, so we are in blowout territory, approaching blowout territory versus the Pelicans, but we only have Bagley projected for 29 minutes. Like Denny projected for 34. He will lose a rotation and blowout, but Bagley, it feels like he could still get the 29 minutes even if they get blown out and he misses that last rotation.
So it already seems like me and you both want to be on Bagley, but we both want to be on Bruno just because he's too cheap, easy play. So it's going to be definitely a 2-center night. It already seems like, at least that's what it seems like. And let's pivot on into the centers. Kind of a little bit of a tease there, I guess. But center wise, are there any payups? We got Anthony Davis that we could certainly get to if we wanted to. We finally have payups. That's been the issue. Not really yesterday, but prior to yesterday, that was the issue. We weren't getting that many payups that we want to get to. I'll just let you take this because I could make an argument for really a bunch of these plays.
I was going to say, Jokic's ownership at first, I didn't realize Jamal Murray was out. And I was like, what are we doing here? But Jokic, we have some value. We can easily pay up for him. It's just a matter of which positions we want to pay up at. But Jokic, Fernando, Jovic, it's going to take up so much of my ownerships along with Bagley.
Yeah, and I think it should. So like Bagley's going to be more of the ownership leverage spot for sure, but I think it's correct. I will say Porzingis has gained a very good DK value rating, but let's just look at the DK value rating today. It is loaded. Like Miami's Jovic popping, you got Bruno popping, you got Bagley popping, you got Gafford still popping if he starts against the Spurs. Like we were kind of probably waiting on that news, but highly intriguing. That's the issue today, is that we have too many good center power forward plays.
Yeah, I mean, sorting by DK value or even by ownership. I mean, so DK value is better because it gives us Bagley and Gafford as great values, with Fernando and Jovic being the chalk. At least Jovic has the power forward eligibility with it, which is nice. Kelly Olynyk showing way up here. I've been playing him his first couple games in Toronto, and it's been working out. It's just he's not quite he's had good games. He's just not quite doing enough to outscore the other guys. But I don't mind taking a couple shots on him if he fits. And then Walker Kessler at 5K. It's just a completely different play now that Kelly Olynyk's off the team. And assuming Kessler starts at 5K, I want to play him a bunch. It's just the only consideration is it takes away roster spots from Jovic, Fernando, Bagley, and Gafford. But Kessler is definitely a guy you want to mix in. And so those guys, and then I'm paying up for Jokic and Anthony Davis, and that's probably most of my center exposure. Wemby has a power forward eligibility, still going to play him a bunch too.
I will say this does feel like much more of a, I don't want to say it's much more of a GPP day, but it does feel like that just because already with the quality of plays that we have center-wise. And that's, honestly, that's a trap that I fall into a lot, just where it's like, oh my gosh, we have too many good plays and I just make too many builds. That's definitely something I fall into a lot on these slates.
Yeah, well, it's kind of nice. DraftKings has that micro millions or whatever series going on right now. So they've had some low buy-in 150 maxes. So it just, like, rather than making my usual 60, I've been making 150 and just really can just mix it up more, get more exposure to these guys.
That actually is a very good way to practice, like using a lineup builder to do 150 lineups without having to risk too much. So if anyone's listening that maybe uses that tool, and that's not a bad call out. I think that's actually a great time to try something like that because you're not really expanding your bankroll. You're just entering more lineups for a lower payout.
Yeah, well, they did have the $4.20 max. They had a $4.150 max the other day, which was great. Usually don't play that much in a day, but took a shot there. And yesterday, $1.150 max, and today I think the same thing, $1.150 max. So I mean, it's great. Take a shot. Maybe it works out.
Yeah, no, fair. Looking at the forwards that we have here, not as great of values, and I don't want to say they're not great because Jalen Johnson's popping up. We got Royce O'Neal. I don't think we need to get there, but you could. Jalen Johnson, Kelly Oubre is a play that we mentioned. Buddy Hield's a play that we mentioned. And again, some of these plays are not as chalky as you would think they would be given the big slate that we have. Duncan Robinson getting a little bit of ownership, but if you sort it by DK value, not popping up as much. So do you see anyone value-wise as someone that you're going out of your way to roster that's not named Jalen Johnson? Because I think we're doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned Buddy Hield going to be over the field. It's like my favorite play in the at the forward position, I guess. Fontecchio, take some shots again. He played big minutes. He just didn't do much with them. He kind of almost salvaged in the second half. But Fontecchio at 4,600, I'm kind of just hoping he turns into Bojan within the next few games here. But
I kind of feel like he's going to, honestly. Like, it just feels like it.
Yeah, and then Royce O'Neal, he played 30 minutes last night. I watched the game. He looked good. Not excited about playing a 20% or 45% on FanDuel on Royce O'Neal, but his price is good, so I'm going to be mixing him in as much as I don't want to.
Would you, in terms of value, obviously we got Bruno, we have Royce, and then we have Jovic popping up. I think it's Bruno would probably give us the most confidence, but I don't want to put words into your mouth. Like, kind of rank those three in terms of confidence paying off their price.
Oh man, it's a tough one. Yeah, I feel like Bruno's minutes are probably the most secure. Like Jovic is my most exposed, but if he's playing poorly, I could see him getting off the court. They have a lot of good players there. I feel like Bruno kind of just has to play, and he's usually solid enough that, I mean, at 3.6K, we're not terribly worried about him killing us.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just that it seems like people are going to have to make that decision tonight because there's too much value. So it's like, all right, which one do you want to prioritize? And obviously the answer is just play all of them in some capacity and some combination. But that's the conundrum. I mean, on FanDuel, it's a little bit easier where Royce O'Neal is just by far the better play, but definitely interesting.
Yeah, I'm just going to load up on Royce, Jovic, Simone Fontecchio, I guess, for value. I'll be over the field anyway. And then one other guy, Corey Kispert on Washington. He had a couple 50 balls recently. Kyle Kuzma's out. Probably gets more minutes. No one's going to play him at 4,400. I think that's worth taking some shots too.
It's not a terrible thought. Like, he could get 30 minutes in this game. I mean, obviously not something we love, but 1 for 7 in his last game, 2 for 11, just was terrible shooting the basketball. And then, that doesn't seem to be a problem with Washington, where Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole can just shoot as much as they want and miss. So, yeah, maybe he's a good play tonight. I don't mind that. It's a decent call.
And Duncan Robinson, too, just to make sure we mention him. He's still a phenomenal play tonight, and his ownership seems weirdly low.
Does it, though? I mean, on tonight's slate, like 17% now. I don't know if you refreshed it recently, but, like, I don't know. I'd rather get to Buddy Hield, who's, I guess, maybe not. I guess you're right. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, I want to mix him in. I'm not saying I'm gonna go like 50% Duncan Robinson, although I think that would be fine if you did.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned Dennis Schroeder, 4,900, 1%, and there's Alec Burks. I mean, dude, we have infinite guys under 5K today.
What about Hachi? Are you just not getting to him?
Rui Hachimura.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, man. I can't do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I might get a few percent. I just don't see the ceiling there. I mean, sure, it's possible. It's definitely possible he can put up like 35 plus ceiling, but I think the other guys have a better chance of getting there.
That's actually a great point. That's much more of a floor type play mindset where tonight we don't need that. You want to be chasing those upside plays for sure because again, it's a 12-game slate. You need the upside. Like having Tyler Hero in your lineup tonight is not going to win you GPP, even though you said it earlier. He was in the winning lineup. So yeah, that makes sense.
And so I'm gonna name it. Like we already said, infinite like value guys, but I'll name one more. Evan Fournier has small forward eligibility, and he's coming in for 1% ownership, min price on both sites. Definitely a possible DNP candidate, but he could also play 20 plus minutes and do pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bring it up, but because I went 1 for 2 on him thus far, but the one was terrible, 6 minutes, 1 point. But the other time he was a crucial play, 17 minutes, 22 points. So like, if he's going to give us 25 minutes like he had last night, which we don't know for sure, that's actually a great call because he could be a good play. We have seen this before with Detroit as well. When they're a little bit banged up like they are, it makes sense for him to get some run.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know if we have too many more questions, but yeah. All right, we'll jump into some questions and then we'll get into the rest of the position breakdown. We'll get into the guards here in a second. So looking at it right now, let's see here. Someone said Dylan Brooks. I don't think we need to go there, but we can talk about that in a second. Clarkson or Bay? Interesting.
It's a pretty good one.
I would say Bay right off the top of my head, but kind of just want to default to the model.
Kind of feel like Bay is going to hit his like upper median outcome a little more often, but Clarkson has like the higher absolute ceiling. Wasn't really getting to much of either of them though. I might try and mix them in a few percent. Yeah. Like Bay's pretty great if people are going to end up on Jalen Johnson. He's a great pivot.
Just going back to what we said earlier, though, he feels like very safe. I don't know about the upside. Like I don't know if we need to play him today. So let's see here. Miles Turner out from Power. Interesting there as well.
Turner's out. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, did we get news on Halburn, if he's going to be active or not? So they're pretty banged up. So it's going to be Isaiah Jackson and Pascal Siakam starting at the 5. One of the two, or it's probably going to be Jackson starting at the 5 and then Siakam at the 4. But I think we can probably expect both of them to get run there because they're thin. So Johnson's out already. Smith is out. Turner's out, and that's the bigs. But you got Mathurin out as well. So is Isaiah Jackson now one of the best plays?
Dude, we have too much. These are the days you have too much value. It's just going to be spread out too much. Isaiah Jackson seems great, especially if he ends up starting. I don't know who else they could start in this spot besides Isaiah Jackson.
I think it'd be Siakam would start at the 5, but then who would they run at the 4, I guess?
Well, if you're quick enough to get it, Siakam over 6.5 rebounds looks even better now.
Right. Jeez. Yeah, so value-wise, and this might not be fully updated just yet, but like Nembhard, Jackson are now the 2 best values, I think, on the board in general. Let me just see here. Jackson, I think, is for sure. Royce O'Neal is second. Okay, but look at this. There has never been a slate where we've had, like, I think more than 3 20-plus values from different teams. Today, we have, like, 6. It's just crazy. All from pretty much different teams, except for the Pacers now, but...
Yeah, like they make sense. Derek White's probably have to think his minutes are still adjusting from the Jaylen Brown news. Yeah. And same with Andrew Nembhard, because if you're telling me Andrew Nembhard's one of the best plays today, then I don't know.
Well, Mathurin's out, and like if Halliburton were to sit as well, like he would be. He just would be one of the best plays, which is crazy.
Yeah, if Halliburton's out, we can go there. If not, I'm just gonna ride or die with my prior biases. So.
I would say Nembhard is a better play than Royce O'Neal. I don't know. Just pricing considered and ownership, I think that's going to change.
Yeah.
But wow, and it's a closer game. I don't know if that helps or hurts Royce O'Neal if it's a blowout, but
I have to think it hurts him. He seems like a veteran by this point, right?
Yeah, I agree. Jeez.
Yeah. It's a fun day.
It is though. It is fun, but I'm glad I'm not doing the Discord tonight. I think I'm not. I didn't double check that, but are you double dipping today?
No, we got Nick to bring you guys all the I don't know, what do you call it? Before lock shenanigans in the Discord, so make sure you tune in.
Yes, link to that's in the description, guys. So it is already a chaotic slate. It probably will be even more. So hopefully he's going light today, because that'd be unfortunate having to enter a lot of lineups right before lock.
Yeah.
And if you guys are in the Discord chat, show him some love for doing that on tonight's slate, because it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so we got Turner out, Washington smash. Washington? You mean Jackson? Right?
Who's Indiana playing? Toronto?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
Neither do I. I think he meant Jackson. I feel like that's something I messed up a couple of times too. I don't know. Like what, PJ Washington? It's with Dallas.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Let's see. This one's a interesting one. If you play this guy, don't play that guy rules. I will say I really think that's a very good rule for the Kings. I kind of mentioned that on a previous video. Obviously, we don't need to do that really tonight. You could do that potentially with Boston, with Drew and Derek White potentially. But like, I don't know. Do you see any possible plays today where you're doing that with?
The one I've been doing every single slate is max one of Luka and Kyrie.
That makes sense.
Other than that, though, like even like De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, I don't really want to set that rule. They were both very optimal last night. Just looking at the games, I didn't have any other rules except that Luka Kyrie one so far. Yeah, I don't think I have anything today. Just maybe with Miami, I might do like max two of some group of the guards, like Jaime, Duncan, Harrow, max two from there. Maybe add Caleb Martin to that group, but yeah, I don't think I'm really doing much in terms of restrictions today.
I know it's a big enough slate that I don't think it needs to be set that way.
Yeah, I'm going to be more spread out than I usually am anyway, too. And so if I get a couple of my 150 with like a certain combination that I wouldn't put together if I was hand building, I guess, then it's fine.
Yeah. So if you guys have any more questions, get those in. Be happy to answer those. We're going to jump into the guards here and then give you guys a first look build, which will be extremely difficult with all the value that we have, and we haven't even touched on the guards. So in terms of OF index, it does seem like the best value that we have today, but before the Indy news and still with the Indy news, is at the center position. But also the best payups are also at the center position. So that's, to me, was the issue to start this video, and it still is the issue now. Are you just trying to get to a lot of Luka and like that's your pay up, or what is your thoughts in terms of pay ups for guards? Because again, we're going to have so much value today that we're probably going to need to pay up for some sort of guard.
So Jokic, phenomenal play. No Jamal Murray. We love Jokic with no Jamal Murray, but Luka's ownership is coming in at projected for 8%. Luka always comes in higher than projected, so even if it's like 12, 13, 15%, it's still going to be less than half of Jokic. And we just pointed out like infinite value at the power forward, small forward, and center positions. So love getting over on Luka. I mentioned Trae Young's great GPP play. Donovan Mitchell, good GPP play, but for the most part, I think I'm probably going to stick in the value-y range if I'm not paying up for Luka. Like, we have enough other great guards that we really like. D'Lo and Buddy Hield are probably my two favorites.
No, I agree. And then could toss in Reeves a little bit in there. Maybe that's a rule you could do tonight. I'm not saying you need to do it, but potentially. Sorry. Yeah, Drew Holiday, I get it, but like just in terms of like the OF index and even DK value wise, like look at the ownership when it's sorted by this. We have one player when we scroll down, Brandon Ingram, and that's like 12 players down. That's kind of chalk on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you got James Harden a little bit as 30%, and then Paul George a little bit as well. But after that, I mean, there is no chalk in terms of like the good plays. Value-wise, it's also kind of the same. Keontae George is pulling in a little bit of ownership. But it's really when we start to scroll down, and I imagine this updates like Alec Burks probably not going to be that chalky anymore. Cole Anthony is still a great play, I think. he's kind of a play that we forgot about, or I forgot about. Yeah, he's a great play still. That's the issue. We have too much value.
Yeah, with Keontae George, I don't know. I had a tough time getting to him, and then he was starting. I was like, all right, we'll just play a bit, and he did terrible. But if he's starting, his price is definitely too cheap for him starting. He's been playing around 30 minutes. The thing I was going to mention about that, though, is THT has re-entered the rotation. He's played 16 and 14 minutes in the last two, had a pretty good game in the last one. And so I don't know that THT is like that in play, but just wondering how it's going to affect the rotation for Sexton and Keontae George.
That's already been annoying. Like, we can't really bank on the minutes for any of them, really. So
Chris Dunn, too. Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't mind getting to any of these guys, though, really. Maybe not Chris Dunn as much, but I like Sexton at 6,400. Just hope that we get that minutes variance. And then, yeah, Keontae George, can't say that he's a bad play. The model says he's pretty good value.
Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. I agree. Shoot, it's just crazy. Like,
I'll mention Laurie as a forgotten stud pay up tonight. Don't mind it. There's better plays for sure, but he's going to come in 1% owned.
I think that's fair. Let's see here. So it did update the day. I just did a refresh. Nembhard, not as good of a play, but still pretty darn great. So Naismith is now popping up as the better of the two plays. So
today is going to be fun, boys.
Yes,
and girls.
So yeah, this is we do have some girls watching. Yes. Let's see here. So running Jovic again, you can. I don't think either of us would talk you out of it. He seems like a great value.
My highest exposed player.
Let's see here. How do you pick between Barnes, Bridges, and Bam? Could even throw an Ingram in there.
Well, I could tell you how I'm picking. I'm just not playing any of them.
I would say Bam a little bit.
Yeah, probably Bam.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I think this may be like a lineup approach question. Bruno, AD, Jokic, Sabonis on DraftKings. Is that maybe like rank them? Could you play all three of them? No.
They're all phenomenal plays. I don't think so. Fernando's just center. They're all just center. If you're playing any two of those guys, I'd add Isaiah Jackson into that group. But if you have two of those guys in your center and utility spot, it doesn't really. I mean, the combination does matter a little bit, but I think they're all great combos.
And we got a question coming from Barry, kind of just Jackson over Bruno. I would actually say that is correct, and I think Jackson will be my highest owned player. But what are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's a coin flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a coin flip, I think. Just mix it up.
Yeah, this is funny. If Chuck ain't playing them, neither am I. That's great.
Well, it's like, so I try to not say things like that on stream because I hate talking guys out of a play. I don't mind talking him to a play that doesn't work out, but if I talk you out of a play that went off, then I feel bad. But I had just too many good plays. I'm not really going to get there.
I do think there's something to that too, because a lot of the times people will ask a question because they're seeing something already. And then when we talk them off of it, it's like it's more like, tell us what you're seeing and we'll see if we agree with that. But
right.
This is an interesting question. I'm going to say this is another neither of them, I think maybe, but Devin Vessel, Thompson, or Colin Sexton.
Who's Thompson? Is it Amen Thompson?
It's a good question because we got all of them. I'm going to guess it is. It has to be just pricing wise.
Amen and Devin Vassell both look pretty good. I'm getting to a bit of both. And then Sexton, I think Sexton's the one I had to manually boost to get any, but I kind of like him as a GPP play. But those other two are probably going to project out better. Vassell and Amen Thompson.
Yeah, I would rather get to like Reeves and Russell, just in that same kind of price range, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go ahead and try to give a first look build, and I mean that. Let's give an honest effort here, but it's going to be difficult because, like, where do we even start? We have so much value now. Let's
start with Jovic, and then Jackson and Bruno Fernando are the same price, so I think we just go with one of those guys.
I actually kind of want to load up on those three and just see what kind of lineup we can make, even though we can't pay up for Jokic. Then that's the biggest.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Let's pay up for Luka since he's so low owned, and he's going to put up 80 tonight.
right? Not it's 100 points. Gonna get triple double. Show Wemby up.
Yeah. Oh, right.
That was pretty awesome though. With
He's
block.
not that. He's not that tall.
You're right. Steals. It'll be steals. There we go. All right, so Luka's going in the build. He has to be active. That would suck, but yeah, I mean, in terms of payups, this is the tough part. Like all the good payups are the centers. So obviously, by doing this, we're maybe hurting ourselves a little bit. But then we're looking at maybe Tatum, maybe Mitchell, maybe Wemby, who's a play that we could get to. Maxey, and he's probably in a better spot with Butler out and whatnot. Do you see a next great pay up that we could get to? Siakam's going to look a little bit better.
Is Buddy Hield to pay up?
Yeah, I do think you're right. That's the next starting point for sure. I agree.
Buddy Hield, Jalen Johnson are both pretty great. Duncan Robinson, maybe.
No, let's try Jalen Johnson. We both agreed with that as well.
I'll say Tyler Herro is probably going to be under-owned tonight. I think Tyler Herro is a good GPP play.
I do too. Like he wasn't that bad yesterday, and I'd definitely find going to him. It's so tough to actually give a first look build. I'm going to put Hield in the small forward spot, actually. I don't know. Do you like Jovic or Royce O'Neal better than Jackson or Bruno? Like definitively, or is it just doesn't matter?
I'm higher on Jovic. He got a couple minutes of blowout run yet. Like he checked back in during the blowout and he played another 2 minutes, which could be kind of huge. Like even if he doesn't get those heavy minutes he got yesterday in the before blowout time. I think he's still, I mean, he's 3K and he played 30 minutes yesterday. It's just tough for me to get away from him.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that's fine. It's a weird slate.
Is Cole Anthony a shooting guard?
Oh yeah, that's right. I think Cole Anthony's fantastic play as well. Point guard only, but we can put him in the guard spot.
Okay, nice. And then
Booker.
A ton of salary left over for shooting guard.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a decent look at it. Could go Tatum too, right? Like,
yeah, we could fit in Tatum. Tatum's 9,600. It's a good price.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they just play Brooklyn and he went off? So,
yeah, man, I did not want to play Tatum yesterday, but I did, and he just went ballistic.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of Horford last night with Drew. Didn't get enough Tatum. I didn't get that combo correct, which was a big hurting factor for sure.
Do you remember? Did Caleb Martin start yesterday?
I didn't play Caleb Martin, so I wasn't really paying attention to that, to be honest with you.
I don't remember. He is starting today, though. I think that's the same starting lineup from yesterday. I don't know who else would have started instead of Martin. Mm-hmm. Highsmith?
Jaquez or Highsmith, but I think.
Yeah. But either way, we got basically the expected Heat starting lineup, and then the Knicks are starting Alec Burks and Jericho Sims.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't mention Jericho Sims. We don't really need to get to him, though, right?
No.
Okay. So just real quickly, rapid fire with some questions. Run it back with Sabonis. Just in general, we didn't touch on Sabonis. Do you like him as a play?
I do. Yeah. It's so tough for me to want to play the guy coming off a 100 fantasy point game. But I mean, there's no reason he can't do it again. He's been so consistent lately. If you look at the game logs, putting above 50, it's just small field, phenomenal play. Large field, probably slightly less of a good play, but he's still 10K on DraftKings. Power forward eligibility on FanDuel. Like, still a great play, and everyone's going to be flocking to Jokic or AD tonight. So DeMontis, I mean, 5% owned from a dude that put up 100. Yeah, I'll probably try and run some back.
No one asked this question, but I'm curious. Wemby, is he actually in play tonight, though? I know he's coming off of that great game, but I think the matchup against Dallas is great as well. Like,
yeah, I think he's a pretty good. I mean, the thing is, I'm going to say this about half the players playing today. Like, there's just so many good guys that are low owned. It just there's so many games that it's tough. But I mean, Wemby's lower priority than the other guys. But if you can find a way to mix him in, I think it's good.
Yeah. Any cheap point guard, that would actually be Cole Anthony there. He's the cheap point guard you want to get to. And then, are you guys playing any man tonight? That's a good question. No, for me, I don't need to get there.
Yeah, he's up to 5K. I am getting to some man. Yeah, it looks like I'm with the field, just over 10%. I mean, the minutes are great, 34 and 27. I will say, yeah, it's a paced up matchup again, actually, against Atlanta. I was going to say he played Indiana last time, which I love playing guys against Indiana, but they're playing Atlanta. Seems pretty good, and they just what other point guard do they have? They clearly don't like. Is he even in the other guy? Nick Smith.
I don't.
Looks like he's out. Yeah. But Cody Martin's in, I'm pretty sure. And since we're on Charlotte, I'll mention Grant Williams has weirdly been one of the best mid-range centers in the NBA since he's been in Charlotte. It's only 2 games, but he's played 30-plus minutes in both. And so don't target him, but if he ends up in a couple, I'm okay with him.
Yeah, no, exactly. Again, no need to go there, but it's maybe if you're splitting the slates up a little bit. Let's see here. Last question, and then we'll be getting out of here. So Bam and Bridges or Porzingis and Tatum. I just don't see how you end up on that. That's my first thought.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I don't even know if whatever the model says.
I would think the first Bam and Bridges, but yeah,
it's
whatever
just,
the model says.
It's just kind of awkward running Porzingis and Tatum together unless you're running. I mean, you don't have to have a run back from Brooklyn, but it just I don't know. Intuitively, it feels better. I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Anthony Black starts 3K. Yeah, I don't need to get there. We've seen that. We've been there, done that.
Yeah, the problem is we have infinite other plays that are also super cheap, and Anthony Black has he had one ceiling game, but this is just for me, it's a not play.
Yeah. All right, last one: Reggie Jackson or Terrence Mann. Right? Or do I have the right man?
Either way, I would probably.
Trey Mann.
I think I would probably try and redo the lineup so you don't have to make that decision. Yeah. I know Reggie Jackson's starting and everyone's on Jokic, but it's not really a pivot off him. And I think we have enough other great plays. Like if Jokic was out, it'd be a little different with Reggie Jackson. And I know he projects great, but it's tough. We have too many other good plays today.
I know it's a big slate, but it's fascinating. Some of these questions that we've gotten are not questions I have ended up on. But that's the nature of the slate that we have for sure.
Yeah, and I love it, guys. Keep throwing these guys in. It's always we could definitely miss some guys for sure,
but not right now. I mean, next video because we do got to get out of here.
Yeah, we're done. Halliburton is in, so that helps.
Okay, that does help. So maybe a rule for honestly one of Naismith and Nembhard. Like one of them could definitely go off, but say the chances of both of them going off not as much now.
It's not a bad one.
Yeah, but that's gonna be all, guys. Again. We have Nick going, one of the Nick going live in the Discord chat probably right now. So click the link in the description to join that. We'll be in here tomorrow at the same time. I believe that's the last slate before All-Star break. So, be on the lookout for that. But that's going to be all for this video.
Yep. Good luck today, guys. Watch the Discord because we're probably going to get some dumb news later. So
yes. All right. Thanks, everyone.